Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSperts. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. Back from a day off, and I really thought you guys did a good job. I actually liked Angie's little throwaway intro. If you're not going to try to do it, why do it at all? I'm Alex Christensen.
Yeah.
Joining me, Mr. Andy Molitor. He's in his really cool hat. I don't really like this.
It's the state of
Is that a
hockey.
took? I guess that's a
I think
took.
this is one of those things where you go to the bar during like a Vikings game and they give away prizes because they just get free beer shirts and hats and bullshits and like, oh, you won a koozie. Oh, good. But I think I won this hat. Now, this hat has gotten me in trouble because it is a beer hat. It's a Michelob Golden hat. And for many years, my wife got the kids ready for school, and then she switched jobs within the same company. But then I had to start getting the kids ready for school. Apparently, it's not cool to send the kids to school in a beer stocking hat when they're in,
No?
first grade or whatever she was. My wife picked them up. She's like, you put a beer hat on the kid. Yeah, what are you gonna do? It's a very warm hat. They like the ball, and it's just durable. So but I digress. I welcome Alex back, and yeah, let's bet a bunch of shit today because it's Friday. It's Friday. We have tennis is just hanging on by a thread. There's still tennis going on. I know a lot of people that are betting the men's side because it's
The
it's
challenges are good.
and the next gen shit, like it's
Yeah, the
unique.
finals and stuff.
I think whenever there's a unique kind of format like that, people are drawn towards it because they think they have some sort of edge. And they honestly, I think some of the people I know actually do because it's harder to price things when there hasn't been years and years of price discovery on how you should be pricing totals and sides when you have a complete. It's just like, guess what? Touchdowns are worth 5 now, and everyone has to reconfigure everything. So it's odd, but they're going to play the normal first to 6, win by 2 kind of tennis down here in Santiago, correct?
Yes, Colina, Santiago. Not really sure technically which one it is. I'm pretty sure it's Santiago. But the tournament continues, and this is not a mistaken copy. This, in fact, is the exact same parlay we won on Wednesday. And I'm going to go back again today and do it. Daka Kovinic, really good as a big favorite for us last time. Today, this afternoon, smaller favorite, minus 145 or so, which really trying to wrap my head around. Maybe I don't know as much about Diana Schneider as I should, but everything that I look at in her performances, all of her numbers that come back, I have Kovinic a very solid favorite in this one, closer to minus 175, almost minus 180. So minus 145, a good number. And Meyer Sharif, who, apologies, I thought this was going to start just after the show started. It looks like it's up here in a minute or two, but you could probably get her live as, minus 250 against Emma Navarro. Navarro, not a bad player, but, an ITF quality level player, whereas Sharif, especially on clay, really quality. I expect her to be, kind of push her way into the top 50 on clay tournaments next year. So just a huge, huge talent advantage. All the numbers here point to Sharif. I had her deeper than minus 300. So put the two together, we get plus 135. Again, really like the matchup for both. And apologies if you're hearing this a little too late and the Sharif match is already over. It looks like it's starting again in just a minute here or two. But go ahead and play Kovinic straight up. Minus 150 or better looks good. But I was just happy to put it with Sharif since I had the chance.
Sharif, Omar. Remember Omar Sharif?
Yeah.
I don't think what he was in. We've been doing a lot of this old actors. He was in Lawrence of Arabia.
Dr. Zhivago.
And Dr. Zhivago. Fuck, I'm gonna watch so many movies this weekend.
And
Either
Hidalgo,
way,
apparently.
Yeah. Hidalgo. Was that a remake?
Probably. I don't know.
Probably. They've remade everything now. You know what they are, and they're revisiting this as well. They're going to do the thing where they.
Dan, that's funny.
I'm 90% sure this is on a boat. It's for sure on a neutral. But yeah, this is on the USS Abraham Lincoln.
Why do they do this?
Because it's Veterans Day, and we thank anyone who, has.
Do veterans only fight on boats? Can't we play on land?
Yeah, that's the thing. The Army is a pretty big branch of the arms of the armed forces.
I've heard of
They're mostly land based. We could have just honored the Army by playing this Fort Benning, or I don't know, something like that. Fort Lewis, Washington, not far from
Any piece of
Gonzaga.
flat ground that isn't moving in water.
Yes. It'd be harder to do. Hey, you know what? This is maybe Air Force too, I guess, because maybe the coolest thing in and there's cool like there's some missiles aren't that cool though because they kill people guys, but the coolest thing ever is like some guy who came up like, hey, what if we made a boat so big you could land planes on it? Like that's kind of badass. So aircraft carriers are just cool in general. I'm not so sure we should be doing this stuff where we play boat or basketball games on it, but the USS Abraham Lincoln
No.
will be hosting this. And yes, as Dan pointed out, Rask gave out the under and it plummeted, which makes me feel good about having the underdog in this one. And
How do
I
you
mean,
not
if
bet
I
unders in the win?
yeah, if I announce a game and I haven't told you what the bet is, you can usually assume it's the underdog. Even though I do have a future bet on Gonzaga to win the national championship. There were some decent numbers out there when it was supposed that Drew Timme was coming back, but it wasn't confirmed. So I have a 20-1 on this Gonzaga team. So I don't give a shit if they win or lose. These early season matchups don't matter. Like, just get through your conference tournament, make a run in March. I'd love to see him in the final again. But in this one, I have this priced way differently. And at first, I'm like, I'm way off. Like, this number's off. And I'm like, oh, it's because I don't have it in a neutral. It's like, no, that would have made it worse because I had it at Gonzaga. So I have this price way off of here. Michigan State is not a bad team. They're a top 25 team. And these young guards that played last year, they're going to be just that much better. I think this is actually probably a team that shoots into the top 15 at some point, and like they shouldn't be a double-digit dog on a neutral in what's supposedly going to be a lower scoring game because of the atmosphere, or just the court and the fact that it's on a boat. So give me the dog 11 and a half. That's way too many points. I'm embarrassed to even say what I made this. So that's it for now. And the main reason that's it for now is because I had a little weird hiccup in my spreadsheet that is screwing with something. So it's like I have it set up to just tell me which plays to play and like highlight them. I'm like, oh, I am gonna bet 30 games today. That's odd. And there's a little hiccup that basically made a secondary metric, made all the games a pick 'em. So it's like every
Well, that can't be
underdog,
right.
yeah, every underdog of like over four. It's like, wow, you should really be thinking about this one. So I got to go fix some of the inputs. It's pulling from a few websites and get back to you. But I did fix it for this one because I wanted to talk about a big game for once. I'm always betting, Mississippi Valley State or Quinnipiac or these schools that nobody cares about.
Niagara.
I just said that because Dan's a Quinnipiac fan, but more a Quinnipiac hockey fan. Here's some
So
teams you have heard of.
did you look at the total at all? Because I'm trying to think. I assume that the market makes some sort of adjustment, and Dan mentioned that right angle sports hit the under here already. But should we just be blindly betting the unders when these things open on these boat games? Like, did your total come out close to market? I know you're not a big total
I
guy,
think a
but
lot of people do that. I'm not super trusting of my totals at the moment either. A lot of that is it's very tough for me to come up with good priors for the stats I use for totals, even though some people seem to be way better at that than me and have had a lot of success with that. But I'm fairly on market now. For where is it? Yeah, Michigan State. Yeah, I mean I'm low 40s. So I mean where it's adjusted to now, it's fine. I probably would have played that early under.
that's what I'm wondering. I'll have to go back and look at the openers because, and again, I don't handicap college basketball, but just the fact that it's outside, there's wind, there's no sight lines. And again, I know these are giant boats, but it's not flat. You're not playing at a court attached to the ground. I mean, like, it should be moving. It's just, there's a lot of stuff that just seems kind of wonky about this. So I'll have to go back and look and do some homework. But just a thought for all the college basketball bettors. Let me know if you know anything about it.
Yeah, I'm just now I'm on a boat in my head. I'm
On a
riding
boat.
dolphin doing flips and shit. Like, that's just a good song. So, all right, here are some more teams you've probably heard of because there's not 360 damn teams in the NBA. That would be a disaster. My God, the playoffs would be weird. But there's only 30 in the NBA. None of them reside in the Pacific Northwest. Well, Portland, I guess, but I'm still salty that Seattle doesn't have a team right now. These teams, you're an underdog better today too. What are we doing? Are we taking no favorites? Rico says Blimp game next year. That'd be even harder. You know what
Oh,
happens
that's not
too
even
when
funny.
Blimp
That's not even funny.
no tickets. I'm gonna watch that tonight now for sure. Last
It's
Crusade.
blimp. That's not even funny. That's scary. I really hope nobody thinks that. But it is Friday. Generally, parachutes. Good God. Rico's just pushing my buttons early here on Friday. But let's talk a little bit about the professionals, the men. I mean, now everybody gets paid, but the big boys, the adults, if you will. Pretty good slate here on a Friday night. 8 games, just 2 that stuck out to me. And as Andy said, like 2 underdog spots here. A couple other games. Curious to see if Paulo Banchero's in. Take a look at that Phoenix Orlando over. Be curious to watch a little bit this Knicks Pistons game. Might have some live Pistons tickets. And this Milwaukee Bucks Spurs line is bizarre. I guess nobody on the Bucks is playing again tonight or something. The Spurs are 1.5 point favorites. So kind of a lot of Friday fuckery, as our buddy Whale would like to say. But 2 spots I do like. The Denver Nuggets getting 4.5 points in Boston against the Celtics. The Nuggets play up to their competition. And I know that's kind of a funky thing. And again, my model here just kind of to start had this closer to Celtics +2, went through and tweaked some stuff. And again, you kind of look at the history. The Nuggets play up and play much better against better teams. They have a good record against teams with a winning record the last couple years. In fact, kind of an almost better record than they do against some of the worst teams in the league. They really build up and they understand these tough spots in the schedule. The matchup is spectacular for them. Nikola Jokic, put him in your DFS lineups. Look at his props tonight. There really shouldn't be too many guys on the Celtics team with the size to bother him. Now, a lot of athletes, I'm sure they'll double Jokic a lot, and maybe that'll be trouble, but it never really is. Again, when you're 7 feet tall and you can hold the ball over your head, every time you get doubled, someone's open. And I just think this matchup is awesome for the Nuggets. My numbers like the Nuggets, so happy to take them here, +4.5. I didn't sprinkle any money line. Maybe I will a little bit later, but again, like this Nuggets team, although I do have the Celtics as short favorites. And then the Cleveland Cavaliers, instead of taking the +2.5, just give me +120. If you want to take the 2.5, that's fine. If it gets to 3, maybe I'll take a little +3, but +120 and have them as short favorites here against the Golden State Warriors team that is still struggling to put it all together this season. That was kind of part of the plan, to be honest. They came in, trying to make sure they work in some of these bench players, guys like Moody and Kuminga, who were rookies last year, get Jordan Poole comfortable, keep the starters healthy. We're starting to see Curry's minutes pick up. He's up to about 35 minutes per game. But everybody else is kind of in the 30s, high 20s. Again, the Warriors really taking kind of a slow approach here. Now, at some point, they are going to have to start winning games. I don't think that they expected to have the record they do, given how good the team is, even when you're resting some players here. Again, you look at the standings, and I know it's very early. The Warriors just 4-7. Thought they probably thought they'd be closer to 500. So I don't know how much longer we have left of this dynamic, but looks again like they're going to continue playing that way tonight. And the Cavaliers have been one of, if not the best teams in the regular season this year when fully healthy. They've got everybody going tonight. 2 guards that can really score. Again, always talk about Mobley and Allen, how huge of an advantage it is to have 2 rim protectors who can also defend a little bit on the perimeter. This Cavaliers team's a lot of fun. Again, have them as short favorites. So give me the Cavs +120, Nuggets +4.5. Would play Nuggets +4 or better. Cavs, again, +110 or better. Looks good.
Nuggets, my Western Conference champion prediction, although predictions have gone out the bleeping window. The NBA has been very odd. And then a couple people are talking Auburn football in the chat. And by a couple of people, I mean almost everyone, the 2 or 3 of you who are chatting.
Sharky Love.
Is Jeff Grimes going to be the next head coach? Because that's what I have. I have that bet like at, I think 4 or 5 to 1 in one of my accounts. So that would be great if he were the head coach. Fill me in on that. And yeah, Sharky Love, Rico de Gallo. Soccer Picks Club says, Andy, did you say you might post more later in the Betford app? Yes. As soon as I'm done with the show, I'm going to order some soup. I'm really hungry for soup. And I'm going to sit down and fix a spreadsheet so I can actually evaluate the rest of these games. There's enough games on the slate. I would be very surprised if I didn't have 3 or 4 more for this evening. Obviously, a quick recap of yesterday. Southern Illinois, truck stick, second half, outright, straight up winner, +8. Doesn't get paid anymore, but +8 cashes on the outright winner. I was a little worried about overtime. And then Vermont, horrible, horrible second half. I believe they were tied or down by 1 point with a couple minutes left at halftime, and then they lost by like 30. Just didn't show up. So I'm a little worried about them in their next game out on the West Coast. That might be a fade spot if you're worried about Vermont continuing to look like that, as they have to play an even tougher team now on their West Coast trip. But it's World Cup time. This starts soon. This is the best part about the World Cup is I don't even know when the first match is. I feel like it's very soon. The 20th. So the 20th is next Sunday, and I'm guessing, oh my God, it's 10 a.m. on the 20th. So I'm going to be watching this on the lead up to football. That's kind of awesome. So I will be betting every single World Cup match, as is tradition with any major soccer tournament, men's or women's. So next Friday, I guess, because if we have a Sunday match, there's no brown bag on a Sunday. I'm not dragging my lazy ass up to do an extra show. Noops certainly isn't around. He's busy.
I got stuff to do.
I got stuff. So next
handicapping, tennis tournaments.
Next Friday, I'll give out my initial brown bag bets, World Cup first match picks. But today I'm going to hit some futures, and I really struggled with futures on this one. I know we were able to get the Three Lions ladies home, and that was kind of a no doubt, no sweater. They just thunderfucked the rest of those teams. God, they were good. It was like watching, the U.S. women a few years back, where it's just like, oh my God, they're clearly so much better. So it's coming home. It's coming home. Football's coming home. Not so much here. I'm not terribly excited about this English team, despite, they have some good players, but this is not the Euros. You have to face South American and African. There's some African teams that are really on the come up right now. So when you play in the Euros, it's like, well, we got to beat France and Spain and Germany, and it's your two top favorites are Argentina and Brazil. South America really representing. I don't love playing a 4-1, even though that's what the price was on the Lions. It's a different kind of tournament. There's a lot more teams in the World Cup than there are in the Women's Euros. I'm not interested in Brazil at 4-1. Certainly not interested in Argentina, as they're just kind of a choke squad, I guess, for the most part. France without Pogba is worrisome for me, and England just is never going to win. As much as I cheer for the ladies, that's a choke squad too. So Dan says Argentina isn't a choke squad anymore. I guess we'll give it to them. Maybe they're back. I'll cheer for Argentina because I like to see a team to throw off the shackles of being, I don't know, like the Cubs or the Red Sox, a team that's been kind of picked as a, somebody just can't get, mushed, cursed, can't get it done. But I did play some Germany, just a really balanced squad. I think they should be priced ahead of Spain and England. I think it should be Brazil, Argentina, France, Germany, like as your top squads. And path is always hard to pick out when you're actually picking a winner. I'll talk about how path matters a little more in some of these bets, but Germany at 11-1 felt a little disrespectful for the machine, as they're called, their Wehrmacht. And yeah, there's some African flavor on here too. Senegal. Somebody asked me about Senegal. I like Senegal. I know they're worried about some injuries, but actually, you know what? Start with Uruguay. These reach quarter prices I like quite a bit, and the reasoning is these are teams that I kind of like to win groups. But how do you cash out? How do you cash the to win your group bet, Noops?
Well, you have to win your group.
Yes, there's only one way. You have to win your group. So these quarter prices are kind of predicated on that because, and let's start with Senegal. Senegal is in Group A, kind of a weakish group. They could overtake the Netherlands for sure and win their group. And their group price is like 3-1, maybe 325. That'd be great to hit that. Now, if they were to win their group, they would get the runner-up in the round of 16 of Group B, which is going to be like the United States or Wales. And as much as I love my home country, those aren't great teams. Those are teams they should be favored over. So if they do win their group, they're most likely going to find that quarterfinal, and you're getting a better price at it. But in the off chance, and by off chance I mean it's certainly Netherlands favored. If they were the runner up, then they wouldn't have such an easy draw in their round of 16 match. But it's still not dead. You're getting a better price, and there's a secondary path to victory in that. So I mean, a lot of things can happen. But if they were the runner up, as they call it, the A2, then they would they'd face a different team. They'd face a group winner rather than a group runner up. So a little tougher, but it leaves you that secondary path. And then the same thing for Uruguay coming out of Group H, I believe it is. Portugal probably wins that group, but it's very weak from there on out. And I think they have a decent path as well. If they were to do anything and win that group, that would be really great. But even if they are runners up, they would be facing the winner of Group G, which is Brazil. So that stinks. Maybe I've greatly misappropriated these funds on this one.
It's good to be
Shit, I
working
need
through
them to
this
win
live.
their group. Damn it. All right. No, so G2 and H1. Yeah, I need them to win H1, and then it's like, yeah, Serbia, Switzerland, something like that. Either way, this price is a little lower, but they're a better team. You know what? They can hang with Brazil. Brazil's a favorite, but fuck it, I
They're
like
not
this
afraid of
price anyway.
Brazil.
So Uruguay, Senegal to reach the quarters, kind of like dual paths to getting there. And then these groups. Yeah, and Uruguay is very live to win that group. Thank you, Dan, for giving me the confidence that I just absolutely sucked. Just got sucked dry by my own words. But I've done some of these too. I like these exactas in group matchups.
This is fun.
And if you just look at, I don't know, there's a bunch of ways that I've read articles where they look at like, hey, add up all the wages for these guys, what they're making in their their regular jobs on club teams, and then put it together and look at how strong some of these teams are. Look, add up all the goals, add up all the caps, add up all the, how much experience they have, and start to like weight these groups and see which groups are balanced, which groups are imbalanced. And this France-Denmark group is super imbalanced. Like it's not a foregone conclusion because nothing is in sports, but Group D is very imbalanced. Australia is bad. Tunisia's not good. Like Denmark, there's a clear like line of demarcation as France is one of the favorites between France and everyone, but there's a secondary line between Denmark and the next squad. Getting minus 110 for France to finish first and Denmark to finish second, like that happens, I think 60-70% of the time. Minus 110 feels quite a bit low. So line of demarcation, Dan says, Jesus Christ, where was I on that one?
Dan's on fire today.
Yeah, so I
Taking
like
a
that
shot
one.
on
That's
Sharif.
that's a play. That's a play I put a bunch on. I love that
Mm.
one. We'll see how that goes because futures generally. I mean, at one point I bet on any girl to take her shirt off at Bovada because Bovada offers too many props on this shit. At the women's Euros, they offered like the Brandy Chastain bet. Like, will a player take off her kit in celebration? I'm like, well, I'm going to bet on that because how often can you bet on something like that? So a little more of the fun props here, and these are such a crapshoot. I was talking to Dan before the show on this. The Golden Boot is given to not anything but stats. Like you just have to score the most goals. Say, well, this person should probably at least make it to the semifinals, get a bunch of matches. It's always weird though. And yes, England did make it to the semis last year. And 4 years ago, and Harry Kane got it, but he didn't score in the last 3 matches. This happens a lot, where somebody just racks up goals by playing some shitty teams in the groups, gets like 4 or 5 goals against bad teams, and then they only need to add 1 or 2. So I'm not 100% sure it needs to be on one of the best teams, one of the favorites, but I went that way anyway. So I took a Frenchman and I took a Brazilian. And that's the problem with
more games you play, the more goals you can score.
Yeah, so like give them more chances. So Benzema at 14-1, taking him over the French favorites. He's more of a second choice on the French squad, and then Vinicius Jr. on the Brazilian squad, they have, I mean, basically the front six guys, like they could all just score 2 or 3 goals apiece. Like it might just be a spread out. But I asked Pete, my friend, Pete from the tennis chat. I said, "Give me a golden boot bet," and that's what he gave me. So I said, "Give me one." And that is the problem with Brazil. There are a Brazilian players who could win Golden Boot, but we're going with Vinicius Junior 25-1. And then one last parlay. This is kind of in the spirit of you playing these fun parlays like this. The fact that I start clicking and I'm like waiting for it to gray out the parlay. I'm like, is it going to let me parlay this or not?
More.
So this isn't just a parlay of the worst teams. It's a parlay of like bad teams who are in tough groups, where you're in a group where, boy, the winner's almost assumed and the runner-up's kind of assumed, or there's a big gap between you and even the third place team. So
Saudi Arabia does suck.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia is bad. And yes, Qatar, as Dan pointed out, may just poison everyone in their group and advance. And yes, it's a little trickier group. Qatar was a weird one too. They got to play in like the North American, whatever our CONCACAF tournament. They weren't the worst. I'm not sure how much that's going to translate to actual competitive soccer. North American soccer is one thing, but it is a weaker group. I think if anybody competes for that second spot that's not Senegal, Netherlands, it's going to be Ecuador. Qatar getting a win would be something. So Ghana, Australia, Qatar, Costa Rica, and Saudi Arabia. None of them to advance. None of them to advance. They're all like minus 800s. This is just a fun parlay I put together. Pays plus 121. So Ghana, Australia, Qatar, Costa Rica, Saudi Arabia. Need to make some sort of what do you call that? Where an acronym. GAXUS. It's not going to work. I'll come up with something better. Either way, it's on the screen, and I just read it a couple times. Pays plus 121, and that's it for futures for now. I might add some more just because I've been having so much fun with these. And one more I wanted to point out too. You do really need to make it deep for this sort of thing to happen, but they have golden gloves, which I'm gonna have to check into this. I don't think it's stat based. I think it's like a vote. And maybe somebody in the chat, or including and not limited to Dan, can tell me this right now. Like golden boot is most goals scored. Golden gloves is best goalie, and I don't think it's just stats based. All right, he says it's a vote, so you can bet on Senegal, and I know a lot of people like Senegal to go far, and they're like this sneaky dark horse. You can bet them at like 40, 50-1 to win. You can bet them at 25-1 to make the finals. But if they make the finals, they have the Chelsea goalkeeper Mendy. He's 80-1 to win the Golden Gloves. I kind of like that. That's a great angle. It's they're probably just going to give it to whatever European wins this tournament anyway. But the fact that he's like 80-1 and he's actually a really, really good goalkeeper, and if they go deep, he's probably going to get some clean sheets. So Mendy, that's a sneaky look.
I like that. That's very good.
And like as Rico says, a goalie to get to the finals, and their price is 25-1 to get to the finals. So like, if you'd like that, maybe split it up. Put a little on Edouard Mendy to get the golden gloves, because they wear gloves, guys.
Gloves important. You don't want to hurt your hands.
No, and that's it. Happy World Cup next week. If you guys have any futures, in the YouTube comments, leave me some stuff you think you like. I'd love to hear it because my research has been very limited. I haven't spent enough time on this. I'm going to have to spend some time, so I have some things where I'm ready to bet on these games because they are coming right up. So appreciate you, Noops. I hope you have a good weekend. Everyone in the chat, have a better weekend than even us. Thanks to producer Dan, and we'll catch you guys on Monday.